This is Greg Fowler for Online London, and with me is Chris Edgar, and she's a candidate in Ward 13. Welcome.
Thank you, Greg.
If elected, how many hours per week on average do you expect that you'll spend working in your elected capacity?
That's a good question. That is something that's very difficult to answer until I know exactly what committees I'll be involved in.
Do you think ward councillors are currently paid enough for the amount of work that they'll be doing during the next term of City Council?
Absolutely.
London's governance model is undergoing significant change, and of course that includes elimination of the Board of Control. Do you think that this will increase the necessity for ward councillors to inform themselves about issues outside of their own ward boundaries?
I think councillors should be aware of the issues outside their ward boundaries, regardless of whether there's a Board of Control in place or not.
Do you live within the geographical boundaries of the electoral area in which you are contesting the election?
I do not.
How many of your post-teenage years have you lived in London?
I have been a resident of London for 10 years.
Have you attended any standing committee meetings over the last 4 years?
I have not.
Have you attended any Board of Control meetings over the last 4 years?
I have not.
Are you familiar with the Municipal Act and the Municipal Councillor's Guide?
Not in depth, no. I will become very familiar with them though.
Strengthening Neighbourhoods is a citizen task force which recommended the development of a neighbourhood matching fund type program for large and small community projects other than things like celebrations or events. Do you support that recommendation?
I'm going to pass on that one.
Do you support development of a community program to fund the creation of public art in public places?
I will pass.
Should the City of London and its boards and commissions embrace the concept of making their data open and accessible to everyone as often as is possible and adopting open standards for that data?
Yes.
When existing software applications have to be replaced or when software licenses have to be renewed, should the city adopt the use of open source software if that's possible?
I would say yes.
Do you think the city's communication department is being given enough resources, money and personnel to properly maintain the city website and to inform its citizens in a timely fashion?
I believe so, yes.
Should citizens be able to subscribe to subject-specific RSS feeds from City Hall in order to stay informed?
Would be a wonderful idea.
Should citizens be able to download the agendas of upcoming public meetings, including advisory committee meetings, at least a week in advance?
Yes.
Despite the requirement of the Municipal Act that all City Hall meetings be public, except for specific reasons, it's been argued that they most often are not because of the inability of the public to hear what's being said. Would you support the adoption of a policy which mandates the use of microphones in all public meetings at City Hall?
That would be an excellent idea, not just for the public, but for the councillors as well.
Do you think that the City of London ought to be webcasting all of its public meetings?
That would be depend on the budget required to do that.
Or do you think that the city's boards and commissions ought to be webcasting all of their public meetings?
Again, depending on the budget.
Do you think that the chairpersons of public meetings at City Hall ought to have to announce motions and amendments to motions and the number of votes for and against those motions so that the public can understand what's taking place?
Yes.
Should London hire an Auditor General?
I'm undecided on that one right now.
Should homeowners have to pay a percentage of the cost for the repair of damage to underground infrastructure on their own property if it's been caused by city-owned trees?
I do not believe they should.
Do you agree with the placemaking concept of neighborhood gateways?
I'll pass.
Should there be increased user representation on the London Transit Commission?
Yes.
If the city is going to provide venture capital to businesses, then should the city be guaranteed a return on its investment in the event that those businesses become profitable?
Yes.
Should people be allowed to naturalize their lawns?
To an extent, yes.
Are London's pedestrians and pedestrian issues sufficiently represented at City Hall?
I do not believe so.
The traffic and parking bylaw prohibits people from using any sidewalk for any purpose other than pedestrian traffic, except as is specifically permitted. Should downtown patios, which consume most of the width of the public sidewalk, be permitted?
Absolutely not.
When closure of a public sidewalk for construction purposes takes place, what steps should be required to ensure that pedestrians are not forced out onto the roadway in a manner which puts them at risk?
That's a tough one. If you have to close the entire sidewalk, there does need to be some sort of a bypass for that area. So it may mean closing down that entire section of the sidewalk and having pedestrians go to the other side of the road.
Is the warranted sidewalk program sufficiently funded?
Pass.
Is the warranted walkway program sufficiently funded?
Pass.
Old unlit streets are not lit unless there's a local improvement program application and a cost-sharing agreement amongst owners. Do you agree with that policy?
I believe that the city streets should be lit at night.
Do you think that special funding ought to be provided to London Police for the purchase of additional speed watch radar trailers and the cost of having the auxiliary police unit deploy them on a frequent basis?
I do not.
Should the city be spending as much as it is per year from the federal gas tax to construct on-road bike lanes?
Pass.
Should bicycles be allowed on public sidewalks?
No.
Should persons in motorized wheelchairs and other mobility devices that are on the public sidewalk be obliged to yield for pedestrians?
Yes.
Should the City of London install more bike racks?
If it's within the budget, yes.
Do you think the theft of bikes is an important issue?
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions about what might be done to combat the problem?
Other than encouraging bike owners to make sure their bicycles are well and truly locked up, there's not much you can really do.
Is the city spending enough money to promote its web-based ride match service?
Pass.
Should there be dedicated and discounted carpool parking space on downtown streets and in city-owned lots?
That would be a good idea.
Should every signalized London intersection provide advanced left turns?
Possibly not every intersection, but more than they do have now, yes.
Is London currently providing sufficient funding for the Community Gardens program?
Pass.
Should all dogs have to be muzzled when they're not on their owner's property?
No.
Should dogs be allowed at community events?
I wouldn't take my own dog to a community event because I don't believe it's fair to the animal. But I can't really say that it's something that other dog owners wouldn't want to do.
Do you think people ought to be able to raise chickens in their backyards?
Absolutely not.
That's the end of the question and answer interview. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.